Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about Pisces archetypes, and I'm going to be using examples for Pisces Sun, Pisces Moon, and Pisces Ascendant. Now, one person I think that has strongly embodied Pisces energy was a mystic clairvoyant, Edgar Cayce, who stated, that he was psychic, at least a self-proclaimed seer and psychic. I think Pisces unequivocally is the most intuitive of all the zodiac signs, also associated with the mystical. Interestingly enough, it was stated he had a photographic recall, and of course, Pisces, there's a correlation with Pisces and photography. Pisces is the sign associated with photography, interestingly enough. And another thing about Pisces too is that they can have a very strong connection with the metaphysical, which of course can include astrology, and many people that have Pisces prominent in their chart can be very proficient in that subject. Now, I know two very exceptional YouTube astrologers are Alyssa Sharp and Crystal Lynn, who both have Pisces ascendant, and Crystal also has Pisces moon in addition to her Pisces ascendant, and I mean they're able to, I'm sure, incorporate a very good intuitive element into their astrological delineations. And another astrologer that has a Pisces ascendant, I think really is strongly prototypical of this sign, is renowned astrologer Samuel Reynolds, who of course went up against the intransigent Bill Nye the Science Guy, essentially a debate and discussion over astrology and its validity. Now, Samuel Reynolds may have been seen as by many as losing the argument and debate with and discussion with Bill Nye the Science Guy, but he definitely showed a lot of heart and showed perhaps a lot of very strong Pisces idealism, just in the simple fact of taking on Bill Nye. And the thing about it is, another thing I want to talk about as far as Pisces goes, and really I've talked previously in other videos how I do believe that actors and actresses often may be drawn to roles that may correspond with their astrological energies, whether it be on a conscious or subconscious level. And Pisces Sun actress Jennifer Love Hewitt certainly is no exception. Many of you remember that she played a character that was in touch with the paranormal on the show Ghost Whisperer, and she was able to communicate with ghosts, spirits of the dead, and it was interesting too that she would receive these confounding, convoluted messages from them. And you remember that Pisces is synonymous with confusion as it is, so it's almost like they thrive on things that can be confusing and confounding. Now, Pisces, I would say, I think that's the sign that is really most attuned as far as being able to connect with any potential possible paranormal activity. And another actor that I think has an example, it really showed Pisces energy in at least one of his movies, was the late great legendary country music singer / actor John Denver, who had a Pisces moon. Now, many of you may know Pisces can be connected with self-sacrifice and compassion, and be able to show that compassion for those that have limitations and maybe have difficulty in defending oneself. There was one scene, I believe it was a TV movie, where he was that John Denver was in, and there was some guy that apparently had got out of line somehow with a child. And what happened was John Denver proceeded to pin that guy to the floor and kept he told him to apologize, and the guy eventually caved in, I believe, and apologized. I think a lot of that was showing that compassionate, Pisces moon energy coming out in that scene. And another actor who had a Pisces moon was the late John Ritter. And on the show Three's Company, he often became embroiled in these chaotic situations. It seemed like he would have to go do something 1 minute at one spot, then he'd have to go run over and take care of something else somewhere else. Then he might come back to that spot he was at previously and dealing with that situation. So I think a lot of that was that, really getting embroiled in those confusing situations can be connected with Pisces energy. And he may not have been the person that wrote those storylines, but I think people are still, at least on a whether it's on a conscious or subconscious role, drawn to those roles that do correspond again with their astrological energies. Now, another person I think of that strongly may exemplify Pisces energy is former head coach, NBA head coach Pat Riley, who likely has a Pisces sun depending on birth time, but even if his sun is in Aries, he'll still be on the Pisces cusp, and I think he could still exhibit some of those qualities anyway, even if that is the case. Now, I can remember, I think he showed a lot of like this Pisces idealism in one statement one time. I remember some kind of quote he had made, Pat Riley made in a newspaper. He was referencing a game that he coached where his team played excellent, and he was referring to Game 6 of the 1992 NBA Eastern Conference semifinals, in which the Knicks played the Bulls and defeated them in that Game 6. They ultimately lost the series, though, as many of you may know. But what he had stated was that he wanted every game to be like Game 6. Now, if that, that really shows to me a lot of that, really that strong, Pisces idealism and just wanting to be great on in every single game, even though we know that realistically that is not really attainable. But the fact that he just had such a strong desire for that was really, I think it really could be emblematic of Pisces energy. Now, the thing about this is, now Pisces, though, in a negative manifestation, can really get, they could be so malleable that they could act differently around different people and different company because, again, being very impressionable and malleable, they often seem to mold with that particular group of people that they are around. I can remember I had one prototypical Pisces rising friend that would be very friendly with me sometimes when he would be by himself or he was with company that with those people he was in company with that felt comfortable with me or had a rapport with me or what have you. But then whether he would be around his quote-unquote cooler friends or those ones that maybe didn't really know me well, for some reason, almost inexplicably, his demeanor would change. It would seem like, and he would be more he would be more taciturn and less talkative, less loquacious with me. And the thing about this is this malleability and connected with the zodiac sign Pisces could often confuse others. Pisces could be very confusing anyway and somewhat confused. But a lot of this has to do, I believe, with the fact, at least as far as in theory, which I concur with, that they're the amalgamation or combination of the 11 previous zodiac signs. And a lot of times you just don't know who you're getting one moment with Pisces. I understand that the zodiac sign Cancer can be very fickle and temperamental, and they often may change their moods during the the moon's different transits into the signs or what have you. But Pisces, they're just continually I believe they are connected with those 11 previous zodiac signs. So in their own way, they could be rather fickle and changeable themselves. And on another personal note, I had a friend that I worked with at one time that was at a health food store who had a Pisces ascendant. And there were times when I would see her where she would almost be inexplicably crying out of the blue. And now Pisces emotions can sometimes be all-encompassing, and they could be very fragile emotionally. Now, despite having a Libra sun, and I think if I remember correctly, she had a Libra moon as well, she was obviously a lot more sensitive than the typical Libra sun and probable Libra moon combination, because of course the ascendant is that outward projection of self, that outer demeanor that comes out very strongly. And the thing about it is, too, I look at I look at Pisces and I do see them as being very, super sensitive and very comparable to Cancer in terms of the emotionality. And the thing about this too is it's the fact that I look at Pisces as well, and they are, again, as I stated before, they could be very malleable. They're very, susceptible to that environment that they are in, and of course that is very prototypical Pisces energy as well. Now, another person I think that shows a lot of sensitivity that has strong Pisces or Pisces prominent in their chart is Pisces Moon, the mixed martial artist that went over to wrestling, Ronda Rousey. And I've seen her a number of times where she, or at least on one occasion, where she just would almost cry almost inexplicably, and it would be over things that I think a lot of people would not respond as emotionally to. And given that's a Pisces Moon, of course, it's very reactionary, of course, very responsive energy. And again, Pisces in a negative manifestation can be tied into drug and alcohol use, given the fact that they're not just ruled by Jupiter, but ruled by Neptune as well. And Neptune, of course, is connected with drugs and alcohol. Now, many of you may have remembered, he was a popular Major League Baseball player, Darryl Strawberry, who has his son in Pisces. Now, he had difficulty with drugs in the past. It was at least some kind of bout or battle he had with cocaine at one time, I believe. And he was somebody that really, he really did not fulfill, unfortunately, his potential in Major League Baseball because of this. He did, and he also had claimed to have had a sex addiction as well. And of course, Pisces can be connected with sensationalism. Now, the best to my knowledge, he has reformed and he's really made a much better life for himself. I say kudos to him for that. But again, in a negative manifestation, Pisces can be strongly connected with drugs and with sensationalism. And of course that, sadly, he did strongly embody that negative Pisces energy, at least early on in his life. Now, another person, sadly, that was a prolific actor, the late Richard Pryor, who had Pisces Ascendant. Many of you may remember that he had been, there was a time when he was freebasing cocaine, and you may remember that he set himself on fire in 1980. And it was over. He had apparently succumbed to some kind of psychosis, and psychosis, sadly, can be connected with Pisces, because this has to do with distortion of reality and difficulty distinguishing reality from the unreality. Really, another thing I want to talk about in a positive sense, as far as a couple people that really embody Piscean energy in a very positive way, is Dr. Phil, who has a Pisces Ascendant, and also motivational guru Tony Robbins. Now, first I'll talk about Dr. Phil. Now, Dr. Phil, as many of you may have seen on his show, Dr. Phil, he will often say, I want you to get excited about your life, or at least something comparable to that. And I think a lot of that is that very inspirational and idealistic Pisces energy that is being projected from Dr. Phil. And he wants people to really take charge of their lives and be able to do the most positive that they actually can with them, and maximize their potential. Now, a motivational guru, Tony Robbins, who is a Pisces sun, is somebody that, of course, is a very strong motivational speaker, very inspirational, and he of course, is very encouraging and tries to encourage others to maximize their potential and be as successful as he or she possibly can be. And I've seen him cry at least one time, and he seems to be very quick to become teary-eyed. Again, Pisces is a very emotional sign, and I think a lot of times it's when he becomes teary-eyed is when somebody talks about one of their, I guess you could say, like a rags to riches story, when maybe they're, for example, somebody's coming from some impoverished beginning, and they wind up, what happens is they wind up becoming more affluent and more prosperous and successful in life. So, and he becomes very, I guess you could say, he's releasing tears of happiness as far as that goes. And one last thing I want to talk about I mean, best of my knowledge, at least last time I checked on this, Robert Redford has a Pisces Ascendant. And the thing about Robert Redford I thought was interesting with the Leo Sun, I've seen him in a couple scenes in movies. And remember what I've talked about previously, and I talked about in this video, and I'll talk about it again, is that with actors and actresses, they are often I do believe that they can be drawn to roles that may correspond with their astrological energies, whether it be on a conscious or subconscious level. And Robert Redford, I think, is no exception. I can remember, one scene in one movie where it looked like somebody had hit him or something, and he just kind of went down. He seemed very passive. He didn't look like he really wanted to fight back or anything. And then there was another I forget the name, movie was with Demi Moore, and Demi Moore had went ballistic and pulled he was sitting down at some dinner table somewhere, I guess some restaurant or something, and she had gotten mad and she pulled, I guess you could say, the tablecloth out from under, I guess, the glasses or dinnerware, whatever was on that, whatever was on top of the tablecloth. And he just was like, didn't really, respond in an excited way or really show. It really just seemed very passive. And I think a lot of this is this real, the strong passive energy that comes out from Robert Redford that we see in a number of these movies that he is in. So, and I think a lot of that is attributed to that Pisces Ascendant energy coming out from Robert Redford. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Pisces archetypes. Stay tuned next time, where I'm going to be giving my take on the June 28th, 2018 full moon in Capricorn. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.